Hey everyone, welcome. I am absolutely thrilled you're joining me for today's explainer because, well, we're looking at something that affects literally almost every piece of digital infrastructure we use today. Think about it. We rely on the cloud for everything, and we kind of just assume that when we spin up a virtual machine, our data is sitting in this secure, isolated fortress, completely cut off from all the other tenants on that exact same physical server. But what if that fortress is actually made of glass? Today, we're peering into the hidden abyss of cloud computing, exploring the terrifying physical hardware realities that totally shatter the illusion of cloud isolation. Which brings us to a foundational question we just have to ask. Is your data ever truly isolated in the cloud? Infrastructure as a service, or IaaS, relies heavily on multi-tenancy. I mean, cloud providers pack multiple virtual machines onto the exact same physical silicon to maximize efficiency. It makes sense, right? Now, we're told the hypervisor provides strict logical boundaries. But as we're about to see from some truly fascinating research, when you share the actual physical hardware, the silicon, the memory caches, the processors, perfect separation might actually just be a myth. You might be sitting right next to a really noisy or incredibly malicious neighbor. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today's descent. We'll be covering the cloud's false walls, listening in with cache attacks, the multi-core CPU threat, ring -3, which is wild, the cost of defense, and finally, unseen threats and unsolved problems. Section 1, the cloud's false walls. Logical isolation versus physical sharing. To really understand the cloud's false walls, we have to establish the fundamental difference between what the cloud promises us on paper and what's actually happening inside the server rack. It comes down to this core conflict: logical isolation versus physical sharing. Logical isolation is basically a software illusion. It's the hypervisor telling your operating system, hey, don't worry, you have your own dedicated machine. But underneath that software, we have physical sharing. Your virtual machine is literally sharing the same physical CPU cache, the same memory bus, and the exact same silicon as other tenants. And the crazy part is, the very architecture that makes public cloud computing so highly efficient, sharing those underlying physical resources, is exactly what makes it fundamentally vulnerable to side-channel attacks. Section 2, listening in. Cache attacks. So how exactly does an attacker in one VM eavesdrop on a victim in another? Picture the architecture of a modern CPU for a second. Generally, each core has its own dedicated level 1 and level 2 caches. But then there's the level 3 or last level cache. On many Intel processors, this is what's called an inclusive cache. And that simply means the level 3 cache holds a superset of all the memory found in those higher level caches. Because it's a shared resource across all the cores, an attacker sitting on one core can actually manipulate this level 3 cache to monitor the memory access patterns of a victim on an entirely different core. But the attacker still needs a bridge to cross over, right? While to save precious RAM, hypervisors use a really clever feature called kernel same-page merging, or memory deduplication. If two VMs are running the exact same operating system or the same shared libraries, the hypervisor spots those identical memory pages and literally merges them into a single physical copy just to save space. Both VMs are then given a pointer to the single physical address. While this is amazingly efficient for the cloud provider, it unwittingly hands the attacker the exact shared physical memory address they need to reach their victim. Using that shared memory bridge, the attacker can execute what's known as a flush and reload attack. It's essentially a three-step dance. Step 1, the attacker flushes that shared target address completely out of the cache. Step 2, they wait just a tiny fraction of a second, giving the victim VM a chance to run. Step 3, the attacker reloads the address and uses a super high-resolution CPU instruction called RDTSC to count the exact number of clock cycles it takes to load. If it loads incredibly fast, that means the victim just accessed it, pulling it back into the cache. By measuring these unbelievably tiny timing discrepancies, researchers have proven you can watch a victim VM character by character and, get this, even reconstruct complex cryptographic keys. Section 3, the multi-core CPU threat. Now, what's really interesting is how things escalate dramatically when we look at modern single-socket multi-core processors. Take the Foreshadow VM vulnerability, for example. These multi-core processors often use simultaneous multithreading, which you probably know as Intel's hyperthreading. This technology splits a single physical CPU core into two logical cores so it can process threads in parallel. But here is the fatal flaw. Those two logical siblings share the exact same level 1 data cache. If an attacker VM and a victim VM end up scheduled on sibling logical cores, the attacker can opportunistically fetch data directly from that L1 cache. The boundaries between concurrent security domains are completely obliterated. Sharing physical cores literally turns parallel processing into a massive security liability. Attackers can use high-frequency preemptions, basically interrupting the victim every few microseconds, to get constant, fine-grained readings of the shared cache. And because hyperthreading shares that highly sensitive L1 cache, malicious tenants can piece together intermittent, partial observations to assemble entire private decryption keys, like LGMAL or AES. The threat is so severe that it has actually forced major cloud providers, like Amazon AWS and Microsoft Azure, the very platforms running so much of our data right now, to intentionally and entirely disable simultaneous multi-threading on their servers. They are willingly throwing away processing power just to maintain security. As the foreshadowing research paper plainly states, quote, modern Intel processors equipped with hyperthreading technology also share the L1 cache between sibling logical CPU cores. Secrets made us leak between sibling logical cores that concurrently execute software from different security domains. End quote. If you are running sensitive data in a cloud environment that relies on shared multi-core architectures, this is the stark reality of your hardware. Section 4, Ring-3, the Abyss. Let's move to and see how this builds into an even deeper, completely invisible nightmare down on the chipset. To understand this, we need to define Ring-3. So traditionally, your operating system kernel runs at ring 0, which is the highest privilege level for software. Hypervisors run at ring-1, but ring-3 operates entirely below the OS and the hypervisor. It runs directly on dedicated hardware within the chipset itself, like the Intel Converged Security and Manageability Engine, or CSME. This processor has its own RAM, its own operating system, and absolute invisible control over the entire system hardware, bypassing all virtual memory abstractions. And guys, this is not just theoretical. Consider the Dagger malware. Dagger is a stealthy keylogger that executes entirely on the Intel Manageability Engine. It uses direct memory access, or DMA, to read system memory without ever interacting with the main CPU. Because it operates all the way down that Ring-3, the host operating system, the hypervisor, and all your fancy antivirus software are totally, completely blind to the attack. The host platform literally has no reliable means to protect itself against DMA malware operating at this depth. This timeline charts the terrifying evolution of the deep rootkit. We started years ago with Ring 0 attacks, compromising the OS kernel. Then attackers moved down to Ring-1, targeting the hypervisor to execute VM escapes. Next came Ring-2, modifying the BIOS or system management mode to subvert the boot process. And now, we are facing Ring-3 rootkits, subverting the chipset and technologies like Intel AMT. The deeper attackers dig into the physical hardware, the more utterly useless our higher-level software protections become. Section 5. The Cost of Defense, Patching Hardware Risks. So, what does it actually take to patch these hardware-level vulnerabilities in a fast-paced cloud environment? Well, researchers have proposed numerous solutions over the years. But defending against these attacks is incredibly challenging. Why? Because almost every proposed fix requires either physically modifying the underlying hardware design of the processors themselves or heavily sacrificing the very system performance that makes cloud computing economically viable in the first place. Let's break down these defenses. You could partition the caches, sure, but that requires major hardware changes and degrades performance. You can enforce a minimum runtime, or MRT, to stop those high-frequency preemptions, but that severely hinders interactive cloud workloads that absolutely need fast scheduling. You could just disable memory deduplication, but then you destroy the massive RAM-saving efficiency hypervisors rely on. Or, like we talked about, you can disable hyperthreading, which instantly slashes the processing power of your multi-core CPU. Literally every known defense actively attacks the profitability and speed of the cloud computing model. So the crucial point is this unresolvable friction, ultimate security versus cloud efficiency. Securing a server against fine-grained multi-core side-channel attacks and deep hardware exploits fundamentally requires disabling the exact physical sharing features, like simultaneous multi-threading and memory duplication, that make public cloud computing so wonderfully cheap and fast. You can have perfect isolation, or you can have hyper-efficiency. You simply cannot have both on the exact same piece of shared silicon. Section 6. Unseen Threats, Unsolved Problems. Let's quickly summarize the landscape we are currently operating in. The threat reality is ongoing, and it's severe. Modern hypervisors like VMware and Xen have vast, incredibly complex code bases that are highly prone to zero-day vulnerabilities. As noted by the cybersecurity firm Cybereason, VM escape attacks, where an attacker breaks out of their VM to control the host, are among the most sought-after capabilities by nation-state actors and organized crime. Meanwhile, Ring 3 hardware rootkits remain largely undetectable by the tenant. And cloud providers? They are forced to rely on heavyweight mitigations that throttle performance. As long as we rely on complex, shared multi-core silicon, these deeply rooted physical vulnerabilities will persist. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If the physical silicon itself inherently compromises the logical isolation that software promises us, is the immense convenience and cost savings of the cloud truly worth the unpatchable risks lurking down in the hardware? It is a question every single organization has to weigh as they push their most sensitive data into a shared digital abyss. Thank you so much for joining me to explore this complex topic today. Keep asking questions and keep learning.